He made this.
Je ne sais quoi.
Big Jeff Audio.
Je ne sais quoi.
Audio. Audio. Big Jeff Audio. Big Jeff Audio. Big Jeff Audio. Audio. Big Jeff Audio.
We are here, episode 58. Big Sound by Big Jeff. Thank you for coming on. Tonight's a big night. Jacob Fuller and Brian on from Sundown. Jacob actually was part of the podcast when it first started and has been on a few times, and I think tonight is Brian's first time. So we're going to be talking Get Down with Sundown. What's up, Mike? Let's see. Eric in the house, Chris in the house, Submarine Audio in the house, Zaz is in the house. So you guys are here. We'll do some announcements, let the people get in, and then we'll bring on our guests. Juan Rogan house, Bobby in the house, Soul Shaper in the house. Okay, so we do have a giveaway from DD Audio, which we will be announcing the winner live December 31st, so New Year's Eve at 10 p.m. Eastern time. So while y'all drinking up and doing that, you will get those updates, and we will be announcing that giveaway. Do we have that video? I'm going to hit that video real quick.
Hey, it's Big Jeff and another giveaway.
It's giveaway time. Big Jeff Audio presents a DD Audio giveaway. Big Jeff and DD Audio are giving away this time too.
Okay, so we will announce the winner live for that giveaway New Year's Eve, 10 o'clock Eastern time. So make sure you check that out. If you subscribe, you'll know when you get the announcement. Okay, make sure you hit that like button right now and share this out. Let's have a good night. We have tonight, awesome night, talking about Sundown Audio. And, of course, we're going to get into a bunch of other stuff. Also, I'm real excited. When I created this podcast, it was because of another podcast, and a lot of things I've done is to just separate myself from the nonsense, and we did that when whatever falling out you call it with ill customs or whatever problem you had, I just said, well, screw it, we'll do our own stuff. So I'm proud to announce we have our own machine parts, bus bars, battery terminals, everything. I mean, super shiny. I wanted to make sure this stuff came in a nice retail box. I wanted to make sure this stuff came out of the box just like a mirror. So you can hit that QR code. Right now we have all the reducers and 2-in-1s, and we have the battery terminals, and we have 2 more weeks I will have all the bus bars, because you know we are the biggest excess power lithium cell LTO seller. We've been for years, and we've made kits for you. And we have for the 6, the 12, the 18, the 24, and we have the balancers, and we have the 2 amp, the 10 amp, and we got a new balancer on the way from Heltech, which actually has the LCD screen that will tell you each cell and what the voltage is. That's really cool, and that's only going to be about $59. They'll be here in about 2 weeks. So really cool that we got our own machine parts, another branded product. It took some months to get it right, and they're here now, and they will continue to come. So tonight, we're going to be talking about Sundown, which we got involved when the purchase was made and switched over, and we've been a part of it for a while. And it's a great brand, and we're going to talk about that tonight. So if you have questions, you're going to bring them up. Listen, we got enough people in here. We're going to get this started. So make sure you hit that like button right now. I want you to share this out. And we are up. Julie in the house, Juan Rogan in the house, Sarah and Dusty in the house, Donnie in the house. Let's get this shit started.
Guess who's back?
Big Jeff Audio.
Big Jeff is back, yeah, let's start the show. Let me get you caught up if you did not know. You see, Jeff took a hit, yeah, he was off his feet, chilling in the ER, eating mystery meat. While he was laid up in the hospital gown, his team said, yup, and they held it down. The Big Jeff brand, it never fell off the rails. Taylor kicking ass kept making them sales. Benjamin ran the show like his name Jay Leno. Ask how he did, digo muy bueno. Pumping out vids, pushing out new content. And the usual suspects was killing the comments. We was smashing the like, cause yeah, you know it's on. But the MVP was the homeboy Juan. Back to business, cause the boss is back. Ask what is this, there's no cause for that. Cause like subwoofers we get down low. I present the return of the Big Sound Show. Deviant for life, yeah you already know me. Glad to see you back for real, big homie. He's back, oh snap, all facts, no cap, let's go.
Big Jeff Audio.
All right, we're here.
What's
I got
up, Big Jeff?
in the house. Jacob is a veteran here. You were actually on, was it the first episode?
I believe so.
Yeah. First episode, we're back on, and here we are. Brian's first night to you, the rookie night, but we're going to take care of you. The guys from Sundown. So that's why I put Get Down with Sundown. Brian, just for the people that might not know who you are, just kind of a quick bios. Introduce yourself, please.
I am Bryan Chamberlain. I have been with the company for 12 years, working on 12 years, and they call me the administrative director now. Don't really know what that means. So we're just a bunch of dudes having a good time here. I pretty much run the office here at Sundown. That's the easiest thing for me to say.
That's awesome. And for the people that live in a cave, Jacob Fuller, I mean, this was something that you made out of nothing, right?
Yes,
I mean, I was looking, you know, when the Facebook does the memory pictures, and I was seeing where you bring some up like in the garage, you know, and it reminds me when I started with them. But you started with an actual brand. I mean, that's pretty crazy to think how far it's gotten. I mean, do you sometimes kind of sit back and almost pinch yourself to think, holy shit, right? Like, does it still catch you sometimes? How
all
big
the time, man. Like, I remember when I forgot my first like run of amps in. I was working out of my parents' house, and they were stored in the attic. You know,
let me ask you this, and just so everybody knows, you didn't start with money. You didn't start with a partner. You started with straight hustle and grind. And I think a lot of your following is built up because of that. And then, you know, there's way more to you. Every time you've been on this podcast, we could have talked for hours because you get so technical. And it's like you just don't live and breathe Sundown. You live and breathe subwoofers and speakers, right? And it's
absolutely
like your mind is just going nonstop. Listen, we're going to try to get everybody's comments, so put them in there. My team will pop it up. Obviously, we have some things we want to talk about, but you got something cool to ask or say, we'll get it up there. We got some things to talk about. Let's talk about these compact Neo V3s.
I didn't bring one with me in here.
I got it right here.
Item we got in line. This is the compact Neo V3.
Hold up. Brian, this is no cookie cutter show, man. We're prepared. I was telling you that before.
Thanks, buddy.
And we put the time into a show. There is never an awkward moment where we're all like, what are we talking about? Okay?
I got a couple items here, but wait, I'm going to critique everything I say.
Let me start it over, and then you could talk over. Right, we'll start here. So, everyone, if you're just chiming in, hit that like button, share this out. We are talking about the compact Neo V3 subwoofer.
First,
all right,
let's talk about the first item we got in line. This is the compact Neo V3. It is not a new subwoofer. However, we are bringing it back on the market for the general consumer. As you may know, this woofer has held its own in the lanes as one of the loudest subwoofers ever created. With a 3.3-inch coil, this can be built any way you want. The way that you see it built today is we could say the most musical way you're ever going to see this woofer built, with the Mega Roll platform, Sundown frame.
And let me start there. The Sundown frame is Not that there's anything wrong with it. I'm just saying, has that always been like the thing? We're gonna change the guts. We're gonna change the magnet. We might even change the surround, Jacob. But
Yep.
sticking with the frame, was that something intended
Yeah.
for business or just aesthetics or what? What was the purpose of it?
I created that frame in 2012. As far as I know, I was the first small upstart online company to ever tool my own frame series. And I tooled it to be something that I could use for 10 plus years. You know, I told it to be future proof. It'll hold basically any weight motor you want and accepts plenty of stroke, well beyond the capabilities of what I was doing at the time. And I'm just now, basically my next generation ZV7, stuff like that is going to hit the limits of that frame. And then I will actually tool a new Sundown frame platform after that.
Right. So you could always tell if it's a Sundown build by that frame, right? That's the first thing you see. And there's not a problem with it. But have you ever throughout the years just said, hey, we need to make a new frame? Or is it like, don't fix it if it's not broken?
Yeah, that was my philosophy. Until I maxed that platform out, there was no need. But like I said, ZV7 and some of the other new stuff is going to max it out. So, and I've already started the development process of what I call the Sundown Mega Platform version 2.
Zaz here, which is a big follower. He helps run. We have a lot of groups we run, non-bullshit groups. Zaz, man, big shout out. He says, I'm curious if Sundown is going to come out with something to handle this newer lean towards 6.5 and 8-inch subs.
Oh, man. We have a lot of stuff already.
We dominate that market right now.
Yeah, we have 2 6.5s, SA and U. The U is spectacular. You know, it's 19 millimeters of stroke on a 6.5. There's really nothing else out there to answer to that. 8s, we've got the E8, we've got the SA8, the U8, the X8 V4, and the Z8 coming out. I feel like we're pretty thorough in that market, but I will do at some point. I will do a 6.5 that's even more powerful than the U 6.5.
Let's get Brian. Brian, here you go. Let's see if you're the boss there. How long is the coil on the Musical Compact V3, and is there a potential for bottom mount at all?
How long is the coil? So that's a 3.3 inch in diameter coil, but the length was it like 80 millimeters?
Right around 80.
Yeah.
Now that's a good question. Let me ask you this: is there a reason that certain things you talk millimeter and certain things you talk inches?
Yeah, you notice I just used both.
Well, no, but it's not you. It's the industry. And if we're talking about the diameter voice coil, it's 3, 4, 3.5, whatever. But when we're talking about
comfortable with,
right, and just that separation between inches and millimeters.
And when you're dealing with smaller measurements, you kind of have to go millimeters because millimeters make a difference.
Right. Now, Jacob, without getting an exact money, but when you have to retool something like a basket, I mean, how pricey is that? Because I don't think everybody understands that when you go get something made, okay, and I've just learned that, like a basket, right, that's not already being made.
Yep.
There's a huge chunk of money in just that, right?
So when I did the platform version 1, the tool, all the sizes, plus all the cones and surrounds, that was 6 figures. Well into the 6 figures.
Just to even get to a prototype, a production, right? I mean, and I don't think people realize how much money goes in here, because I've always heard, oh, you're paying for the Sundown name. No, you're paying for everything that got it there and to get it further on. It's just like Ford Motor Company. Yes, they make money, but the amount of money they have to put into R&D to continue to grow and to stay on top, it costs money, right? So that's what it is. You're not paying because it says Sundown. You're paying for how it got to be called Sundown and how it's going to continue to be Sundown. So I want everybody to understand that. We got Carla in the house. Big Kari. I fucked that up. Sorry. Corey, Eric Dye, Dave, Juan. Great. I'm seeing a lot of different names in here. Great night tonight. Thank you for coming in. This is the Big Sound by Big Jeff. We got Jacob and Brian on from Sundown. What you might not know, some of you all, was I was one of the first approved distributors when the whole change made. And I was real happy to get that news. I've been a big excess power dealer and worked with them. And when we got Sundown, it was an exciting brand for me. No, you got it right.
Sean Mayo worked his ass off to get you on board.
Yeah, 100%. And, I looked at it as, Sean, we did $1.2 million in sales. You better get me Sundown. And I wanted that brand, because at the time everybody was quite new was going to get it. So big, and we still have it. And I don't think as many people realize that we are a distributor. We're an authorized online reseller. We have good stock, and we try to stay up to date. So the Compact Neo V3, when is that coming out? Where are we at on that?
Would you like me to talk about that, Jake?
Go ahead, Brian.
So I mentioned it in that video. That's our SEMA video, by the way. The Compact V3 has been out for a long time, or I will say a long time, at least about a year and a half. But it was strictly more or less an SPL burp woofer, and we built that usually, in most cases, on the U-Series platform. And it was more based towards competitors. Yes, you could play music, but most people that are going to spend that kind of money are going to be the big competitor guys. Well, we decided within the past 6 months, it's like, all right, we can build this as a musical woofer. Why not do that and offer it to everybody? I mean, it was always offered to everybody, but we'll put it out there and put it on our website and all that stuff. So that's all you're seeing now. We're just
what
offering.
When you break up a woofer, right? We have what we call the motor, the magnet, right? You got the cone, the coil, the basket. Where is the money really into on those things? Where is the most expensive part of actual subwoofer?
Motor, absolutely the motor.
Right. And you guys have a magnetizer, correct?
We do.
Okay, so we're talking another level, right?
Yeah.
How many brands have that here in the U.S., right? And
Not
that's
many.
really cool. But this is what I'm talking about, the separation and why, yes, Sundown is a more expensive brand, but it's a better quality product that is really hands-on. And when you see made in the USA, we're talking really made in the USA.
Thank you, Dave.
You get what you pay for, 100%. I want to bring some up. I normally wait a little bit for a video break, but I want to get this. High Five Vector, huge supporter, great YouTuber. We do a lot of work together. He was tired of hearing everybody say that Sundown's too expensive and they're not efficient, right? Because there was a bunch of word on that you got to put tons of power into them and everything else. So he did a video basically saying F you to those people. We're going to go to that real quick, and I just want to play this, and then you guys can kind of explain what he's talking about. Hold on one second.
Some guys say that these Sundowns are inefficient. This will be funny when they watch this video. This is not even a 1,000-watt amp. Again, internet cowboys saying things that they don't know anything about. That's why I like doing these tests.
So you got, on an average, say 300 watts. That's where I when I saw the video. Ohms were real high. It was real cheap amp. Explain what he's talking about here and what makes Sundown different. That yes, it will take that huge power, but why are they so efficient?
Yep, that kind of starts with the motor. All of our motors are extremely powerful, and obviously, the stronger motor allows the coil to move with less wattage. That's kind of one of the things that's about. And then our suspension design, we spend a lot of time on that. Like, for example, all the mega platform subs, the suspension compliance, it's the equivalent of like a spring going back and forth, is really even on the mega ones, like the one that he was playing. So, like, for example, on a standard subwoofer that has a poorly designed suspension, say, and it tightens up rapidly, it's going to take exponentially more power for it to continue to move. And so a properly designed suspension, then it's very linear in the usable range, doesn't require as much power to move, and of course paired with that strong motor.
And Sundown is known for underrating everything.
Yes.
The amplifiers, the woofers, sometimes when you see those numbers and people are like, oh, that's all it takes, and it's $1,000. That's not true. Yes, that's all.
It's a conservative rating.
Right. Yeah. Very conservative, and it does the job. And you guys have huge amounts of people that compete with Sundown, period.
Yep.
I mean, you're not going to go to a show in the USA and not see Sundown in multiple vehicles. So that kind of tells you something there. Another thing we want to talk about is the Z8 subwoofer. Let me pull that up.
This particular woofer is the Z8. This will be out fairly shortly, early 2025. Jacob, tell us a little bit about this woofer.
Sure. All right. So this has a custom tooled frame that I designed actually about 5 years ago now. This frame is oversized. It's more close to like a 9-inch. Has the square mounting flange, basically the thing that I tell people that keeps the drill away from the surround, so gets rid of that issue. This has the new Mega Roll V3 shape. So as you can see, it's like a little bit pointier. This was fully computer optimized. Coming down, we have this custom tooled spider that we spent a lot of time getting right, and we're going to tell you why here in a second. Because this thing has 30 millimeters of one-way linear stroke by 70% BL, and about 45 millimeters one way before it bottoms out.
Okay, layman's terms, Jacob. Give it to us straight there. One, I want to say the top of around the surround, I like that triangle look, we'll call it, right? And I'm sure there's probably a purpose for it. We're talking about tooling. There's a new basket. But what the hell were you saying in the video?
So just to put it in the most layman's terms possible, this subwoofer has more displacement potential, more output potential than any other 8 or 9-inch subwoofer that I've ever seen on the market. It has more linear movement than even the JL8W7, which was the king of linearity for 8s forever.
Okay, when we're talking linear, we're talking this way, right?
Yeah, up and down. And the linear part is when the coil is under the full control of the magnetic circuit before it loses 30% of the motor force.
Now, that subwoofer, Brian, how much power do they need, and how much will it really take? And when I say take, I'm not talking peak. I'm talking about guys really trying to compete, push it. What is that everyday listening level?
I believe we're going to go ahead and rate it at 1,500 watts, right, Jacob?
Okay.
Yeah.
And
that's a lot of power. I mean,
most of the time you're going to see a lot of people put about 25% to 30% more than what we suggest anyway. So most likely a 2,000 watt amp for that one woofer.
And let's talk about warranty, because you guys do repairs and everything. Now, everybody's got to understand, more and more as this industry goes on, people just blowing woofers up, send them back is not a thing anymore. If they burn a coil, let's go over that. We'll talk about manufacturer's defect, Jacob.
Sure.
Abuse, right? In my opinion, and then I want you to school me, right? Because we deal with multiple brands, multiple returns on multiple platforms.
Right.
When I see a coil burnt, I see a coil melted, or I see a coil hanging out, that's not a manufacturer's defect.
Correct.
That is at some point clipping, overheat, the works. And people got to understand that when you do that, it's your fault. It's not the manufacturer's fault. It wasn't a defect of putting it together. Now, tell me if I'm wrong. Back me up so everybody understands.
That is correct. And especially on our products, like if the rating that we put on the box, you're not going to burn that coil if you run an amp of that size. It's just not going to happen. So, you see our guys in the lanes, like for example, Stephen Duncan, he has a 10,000 watt amp per driver. So he's going to burn up a coil from time to time, but he knows that and he has fun with it. You know what I mean? But if you buy the same woofer that he has and you melt that coil, we know what you did.
Right.
In almost every application when somebody sends a woofer in and that coil is actually blown, it's almost never power related. At least our subwoofers. It's almost always clipping.
Clipping, right? Because they think they can turn the gain up and they hear it and it sounds good, and they're not understanding the wave. And you're 100% right.
Whether that clipping is due to a poor signal or low voltage creating that poor signal.
Yeah. And that's where we're going.
Yeah.
So I think the most awake thing cardio, when like you had the SMD handheld, the new bass garage, all those, people start paying attention to ohms, impedance. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to go somewhere here. When people see the rise, then they lower their stuff lower. And what you got to understand is, yes, when you lower it lower, it'll keep it lower. But then you have those moments where you're having a crap ton of crap power come out of an amp when that impedance does drop down below what that amp is rated, which now you have a clipped signal. And that is a big why on everybody saw the new Big Jeff test rack with the SMD AMD1. I got a big O-scope on there, and we're going to integrate that in to show people how fast you can change to a clipping signal without hearing the difference, and then it's just a matter of time before you have some type of failure. So
And it's also due to the music being played. So you have to think a woofer is going to play efficient at a specific frequency range, right? But if you are outside of that frequency range, you're now pulling more current, you're dropping voltage, creating that clipping.
let me ask you this, Jacob. Do you believe in set it and leave it, or do you think somebody needs to retune their system continuously? I believe you have to, because the variables change all the time.
Yeah, it depends. Like if you're making, hey, what's up, Jay? If you're making
in the house,
if you're making changes, or like some of these big SBL builds, if you rip your door off, it's going to change the whole response, or anything like that. Sometimes the gain knobs will move themselves a little bit. And another thing too that I want to add real quick on our previous conversation, on our mega platform subs, people keep adding power because the sub still sounds good, because it doesn't have distortion. Even when the sub is like reaching ridiculous limits, it just doesn't sound like it is. So people just keep dumping power.
best one I ever saw, Brian, and I'm not even putting names, but we had a return when I first started the business. And it ended up being a YouTuber who wanted to return it for credit to get different subs to do another video. And I'm like, I'm not here to finance you. But anyway, I watched the video of the subs he bought, right? And in the middle of this video, full blast, full volume, he opens up the side door, and it's a truck. And in the back seat is his box. And not realizing that there was pressure in the cab, and the moment he opened that door up at full volume, that woofer then overextends. Well, hold on. He didn't want to hear this because it was the woofer that I watched the video of him opening the door in a vented prefab box, and you can almost see in the video the excursion of the woofer almost double, right? It popped. And everybody's got to understand that. When you have a trunk, vehicle, or stuff like that, don't just open the trunk in the middle of it at high volume. There is that pressure, right? You have cabin pressure, you have back pressure. That's all intended. And even when you tune it, that's going to matter. So don't just tune it and leave it. I think you need to check the stuff continuously. Weather changes, the subs break in, the amps, your voltage up and down, your batteries get weaker. Really good idea to get yourself a cheap SMD meter or a scope or something and definitely change it. Okay, let's see if we got some comments here. Scammers are the worst. Yeah, that's 100%. That's a big shout out to my customer service manager who deals with this all day long.
May I shout out?
Yeah, sure.
I want to do a big shout out to Jay Holm for staying up super late.
Yeah, no
over there
doubt.
in Denmark.
I don't know if you saw, Jay was actually hand building subs all day in Denmark where it's like negative something degrees. So this is way past his bedtime because over there it's probably 1 in the morning or 2 in the morning. So that was really cool that he jumped on. Again, hey, we're here. Big Sound by Big Jeff, episode 58 with Brian and Jacob talking about Sundown, some new product coming up. We'll try to get to your questions also. Next, I want to get into the SA1T tweeter. Let's pull that up.
SA1T and the SA3M, these are brand new, coming out within the next month or two. Jacob, what do we got going on over here?
All right, so we have the display here with the custom speaker pod set up.
Jacob, first I gotta say you look good in the shirt.
Thank you.
Okay,
That's
not
a sexy
funny
man
enough.
shirt.
That is a sexy man shirt.
But we'll start here with the new SA1T. So we've been selling an SA tweeter for many years, but this is the newest iteration. Some of the cool things about this is, despite being extremely short, this thing has an FS of around 700 hertz, so it gives you crossover flexibility wherever you want. 28 millimeter silk dome. And a lot of the times people will say, oh, well, the silk domes aren't loud enough. Well, we took care of that. This is 92 dB with 1 watt sensitive. So this thing is going to give you a ton of output. And also sound really smooth since it is a silk dome. And there's like a nice tuned little chamber in here to keep everything under control. Now moving on, we have the SA3M here. You can see the front of it here. This is a very tight weave carbon. So this gives it an extremely smooth and linear frequency response. It technically could be used as a wideband up to 20,000 hertz and play down extremely low. Now the reason it can play down so low compared to a lot of threes is you can see it kind of looks like a little subwoofer here. And in that vein, this thing has 5 millimeters of one-way linear excursion by 70% BL and about 8 millimeters before anything bottoms out.
Okay, let's break this down a little bit. One, First thing I want to get to, this is not cookie cutter as they call it. This is not Alibaba with the Sundown name on it. Okay.
Correct.
Zero of that.
Okay. That 3-inch driver, what you're talking about is that something that normally wouldn't have that much mid bass. There you go. Can create that. Why, Jacob?
It's going back to the same thing I talked about on the Z8. And this is the way that I do everything. Like, even a little driver, some SQ guys are like, man, you're crazy. What's going on? I was like, dude, that's how I roll. So, but anyway, the 5 millimeters of linear stroke is 5 times like the average for that market segment. A lot of even the high end units have about 1 millimeter. And what that allows you to do is to play lower and also play louder. Now, a lot of time, like say you're crossing this thing over at 500 hertz, that's not necessary. But, my customers like to do what they want to do. They could cross it over at 400, 300, 200. And in fact, you're talking about the RC stuff off the air. Jerry that was working here at Sundown for a while put 4 of them in his little RC car as subwoofers, But not only that, but not only does it have that stroke, but you can post the clipples. It's very even and linear, and the suspension is also even and linear to match that. So what we're offering here is $200 for a pair of 3-inch mid-ranges that can basically do anything that you want a little speaker to do. You could use it as a RC subwoofer. You could use it as a low mid. You can use it as a high mid. You can use it as a wide band. It's very flexible, and there's almost no distortion under any of those applications.
I got to say, we got a ton of comments here tonight. We've been having 80 to 100 people in here steady. Thank you so much. I see Julia. Julia's one of our sales reps here. Stuart, thank you for chiming in. Blaine, Jesse, just want to give everybody their shout outs. We are looking at a 3-inch driver that can play pretty much mid bass all the way up into the vocals. Yeah. We were talking about the tweeter, which even though it's soft dome, which I prefer because I hate that squint, that sour ball face. But soft domes aren't as loud. You were able to design that to what you said at 92 dB?
92 dB with 1Y, yeah.
Yeah,
here's the tweeter.
Super efficient. So that is what we're talking about in the SA stuff. Next, I want to get into the SA. Well, we talked about the 3M. What about the SD series, V5?
Well, real quick, Jeff. Go
ahead. Yeah.
So these two that we were just talking about, they're part of a set, an a la carte set now. So we've had the component set for the SA series out for a while now, but we're switching it up. Not only can you do the 1-inch tweeter and the 3-inch mid, but you can do a 6.5-inch mid bass or an 8-inch mid bass now. Both the 6.5 or the 8-inch are coming out in a few months. Well, the 6.5 will be a little bit later. By the way, these are available right now for purchase. They're available right now. They're here.
Let's talk application because I think a lot of people think of SPL bass sets. Hold up. One, if you have cars like most of your newer cars have gone to multiple smaller speakers, so you have those applications. BMWs, Hyundais, all of them. Two, if you want, and you're not just going to compete for SPL sound quality, taking a tweet, and a mid bass gives you that perfect range of sound all the way through there in the kick, in the door. And finally, my favorite reason is when you can separate all those drivers and adjust those and angles, you can get the perfect image and staging, which is dead center on the dash. When you close your eyes, it looks and sounds like the band is right there.
Exactly.
And you can do that with time alignment, but more, and what is better to do with, is just the adjustment of speakers. Now, let's take it a step further. I think DSPs are getting so popular for SPL guys with multiple amps, but also I think for this type reason, because, Brian, isn't it better just to tri-amp, quad amp, basically an amp or outputs for the tweeter, the mid-range, the mid-bass, and have that all separate, and you can do that now with the DSP. So
I like having that ability of separating, having a channel for each thing. And
100%. Any sound quality car, any of my vehicles I drive in, I love that separation because then you can send the proper frequencies to that speaker and get that performance.
And these are all
active. About a 6x9 mid bass.
So I want to do that, but
I mean, that's the only market I really got into. Bikes. Is that coming on the horizon?
I am tinkering with some bike stuff. Yes, and
Okay.
on
I know we have a
other
huge
folks too.
amount of people that purchase stuff, bikes, and also obviously marine in that. So Matt in the house, Eric, Bobby, Brian, man, we got a lot of people in here tonight. Really cool. This is what we're gonna do. We're actually gonna take a actual video break. We're supposed to do that earlier, and we're gonna come right back with Jacob and Brian from Sundown. Get down with Sundown. Big sound by Big Jeff. Let's take a quick video break. We'll be right back.
Feel a Sundown audio subwoofer power by Hi-Fi Vector.
I don't know, guys, man, but you saw how much flex it has for daily driving, and I mean, it's still rattling stuff in here and sounds killer, so I really am kind of shocked. I'm kind of shocked.
I want to say too that video was done with not even 400 watts. So that if people look at it and say, "Well, what's the big deal?" That right there was in the back of an SUV with only 400 watts going to that subwoofer. So super impressive. P Shizzle in the house, Tony in the house, Snub, Alan in the house. Yes, sir. So let's get into this. Let's talk about the well, no, we forgot the SD Series V5. Let me pull that up real quick.
Let's move over to the SD series now. Anybody who's been a big Sundown fan for many years knows that the SD series has been out for a long time. We're working on the SD5, and Jacob, what's the biggest difference you're going to find from SD4 to SD5?
All right. One of the big concerns I had with the SD series is I wanted to make it not only better, but also more affordable. The SD4 had a Neo motor with a 2.5-inch coil. Now, this is really cool. This is a ferrite motor with a 4.5-inch coil. So we went to the 4.5-inch coil so we could still fit the motor inside the coil. So it's a cup setup. So 4.5-inch coil, also underhung, just as all of the SDs starting at the 3 have been. And this gives you about 12.5 millimeters one-way linear stroke. And that's with a flat, completely flat BL curve being underhung. All right, now coming around to the front, it has our W surround, which this is a technology that we've been working on for a while. We've used it on the SD4 and the U6.5, and we're working on a bigger version. But long story short, the W surround allows us to tailor the suspension curve. So we can make it really flat in the center, but where this is a shallow, we don't want it to move too far and bottom out, right? So we can see that the rolls vary. The outer rolls are a little smaller. So the excursion starts on the center rolls, and then when it's beyond the capacity of the center rolls, it goes to the smaller outer rolls and stiffens up. So it's going to be really hard to bottom this out, despite the fact that it's a kind of soft, compliant sound quality driver. And another cool thing, this is a Santoprene surround, polypropylene carrier, carbon fiber dust cap. So the front of this thing is basically water resistant. So like if you were one of those guys that has like your bags on your bike or something like that, you could also use this.
Comments, you guys say that it's glitchy. Sorry, on our side it looks good. Don't know, we got a lot of people.
Looks good to me.
Yeah. So there's a crazy, again, not cookie cutter, shallow subwoofer. First, let's start. What is the mounting depth on that?
It is almost identical to the SML, which I don't know that number off the top of my head.
Like 4 1/4.
On 4 1/4.
Okay.
Okay.
Somewhere in that range, yeah.
And
the RMS power handling on that.
It's going to be. I'm debating that because thermally a lot, but it is kind of soft because it's SQ oriented. So probably 500 or 600 would be the rating, but nobody's going to thermal that coil. It's just not going to happen.
What goes into? You first have an image, and I see you design the stuff 3D, right? And I'm starting to get into that because we're doing some 3D printing, and that just blows my mind. But what does it take to get it to that actual? What is the testing and everything? What do you do? Give us without the secret sauce, but give us the layout. I mean,
Yeah.
you get the idea, and then how does it get there?
So what I normally start with is this is just how I roll. I'm kind of old fashioned. Some of my friends make fun of me, but I always start with a piece of graph paper and I draw it by hand. And then that kind of gives me, I feel like I can visualize the dimensions better that way. So then once that's done, then it goes into the computer to CAD, then 3D. And then from there, we'll do either 2D or 3D magnetic simulations. Then we'll do 3D soft part suspension simulations. And then from there, we'll actually tool the parts, bring it in, test it, and put it on the clipboard to verify that if all the things we did what they're supposed to do.
Oh, crap.
It takes years.
Somebody, Julie, I'm just laughing because I said without the secret sauce, and she puts a comment. It says, where is she? Without the Krabby Patty secret formula.
That's right.
What is the amount of time that it really takes to get there to there? I mean, how long is
so
the process?
it can take a couple years. Like, for example, the U6.5 took me about 2 years.
I mean, isn't that frustrating to think what you're working on now might even be out of, I don't even, I mean, like how much stuff is designed and then by the time it's done, you're already on to something else. I mean, that's a long time, a lot of money, a lot of time into
I can answer that question 100% of the time. I'm working on the next one.
Right. That's crazy. So what has been the biggest change when Excess Power came in? I keep saying Excess Power, but the owner comes in. What has been the biggest change in the company and also for you guys? Brian, I'll start with you. What was, some good things that happened and some bad things? Because I'm sure there was a lot of extra rules and things that got kicked in, right?
So no offense to Jake, but we did need those rules. We needed to kind of compartmentalize so everybody has their job and knows what they're supposed to do.
Right.
Because you have to remember when we started, we were just a few guys in the building just having a good time. We would work half a day and party the rest of the day, It's not like that anymore. So we had to kind of grow up a little bit, get our set goals, what we do, and that's what we do. I like that. I actually like to have a little bit of black and white from time to time, even though I work in the gray area most of the time. But I think I feel it was the right change to be made, and it gives Jake more availability to do what he really wants to do, and I'll let him talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, going to that, I mean, I wish one day, Jake, that I can get to just run my company and market it, what I do best, dealing with the day-to-day and the problems and the issues. And in my case, I'm not designing things like you, but we're getting into certain things. What was that? I mean, what was that feeling like? I know first you had to feel weird to let go of some of your baby, right?
Really weird.
But what was the good part of this?
So the good part is, like you said, I can focus on what I actually like, and the reason that I even started this company is I like to make cool products. And the reason I started Sundown Audio, this is different than a lot of founders, and I'm not saying that other people are wrong. I didn't start Sundown Audio to make a ton of money. I started Sundown Audio to make the products that I wanted to make that were in my head, and I hope to make a living doing it. And then it just grew from there. And now I can go back and do that cool, fun stuff that's in my head, and I don't have to worry about the paperwork and the taxes and like all this shit, It was kind of killing me because the company grew well beyond anything that I expected or even planned, in any way. It just kept going. And I was like, man, I'm in over my head, as far as the business side, but, because I'm a designer first and foremost. And we had a comment by a guy, Jimmy, said that he comes up with stuff in his dreams. Me too. I actually will have a dream about a speaker, and I'll wake up and there it is. And that's how the Nightshade V4, 5, 6 design came about. I was literally sleeping. Sometimes you're sleeping, you kick your leg and you wake up and you're like, it was at that moment I had to get up and draw it.
Or on the toilet, Jake.
On the toilet.
A lot happens on the toilet for sure. Let me, so now your job is solely designing the product. I mean, you get to do that all day. I mean, that's got to be, especially not having all those other responsibilities to do this. So let me ask you this. What is Sundown? Where is it going 2025, 26? Did you have 23 to me was a weird year. Well, excuse me, 23 was a great year. 24 was a weird year. I was in the hospital too, but business up and down. It was very weird. I believe things will come back strong 25. Where is Sundown going to be 25 and 26?
There's a lot of new stuff coming out, and I actually have some patents that I've been waiting for them to clear for like 2 to 3 years. And when that stuff comes through, I've hinted at it. There's a motor technology, I'm calling it Silver Devil, and there's a Sundown Flat BL technology. I've already alluded to Mega W. I've already alluded to the Fast Surround, all sorts of things like that. And then we have some really crazy stuff that's still up here that I haven't really talked about that might be beyond 26. It might take a little longer than that because, like I said, some of these projects take multiple years. But I've got to get back down to a lot of like really ground level stuff like material science and things like that, because we're kind of getting to the limits of a lot of the materials used in subwoofers, because I'm planning on my next generation Mega Platform version 2, the biggest size. I'm going to have an 8-inch peak-to-peak mechanical envelope on that.
Wow. My guys just reminded me before it gets too late, we wanted to get into the M series. I'm going to pull this up real quick, Brian. Take us
This
through
year's
the
the new
video.
M series. We're looking at early 2025 for the release, maybe even before if we can get them a little bit sooner. But the only thing missing here is the motor boot. This will be the first woofer in line that we have a motor boot that actually says the series. And I think starting from this point on, we're going to find that we can differentiate which woofer you have.
A little bit more cosmetics.
It'll actually say M series on the motor. Jacob, this woofer we're finding is actually priced below the U series, and being a budget-friendly subwoofer, I don't think you're going to find anything on the market like this.
No, absolutely not.
In a Mega Roll series type of woofer. Tell us a little bit more technically about
we
this.
have the Mega platform that everybody knows and loves, the Mega Surround, the Sundown platform basket. Now, where it starts to differentiate a little bit, coming down to the motor. This motor is a quad stack motor, about 200 millimeter diameter, but this is where it gets really cool to me. So the voice coil in this is larger than almost any 3-inch coil driver we've ever sold, and this is our new entry-level Mega platform driver. This is a 3-inch coil, 87 millimeters long. So the thermal power handling is out of this world. But this has a softer suspension than any of our other Mega platforms as well, and giving you a lower FS, and the Q is a little higher, so this again gives you a little bit of flexibility. So not only can you do a ported or sealed box like normal, this would actually be great for...
Let me cut back to Brian here because I can see him ready for this. Go ahead, Brian. Take this over. Look at that thing.
Yes, so this has the softest spider or suspension in general than any Mega Roll woofer we've ever made. And I want to talk about something real quick. Robert Williams just brought something up. How are we going to combat the cheaper brands, so to speak? This woofer right here. This woofer is made for that reason. We are pricing this below the U series. Okay?
Oh, wow.
So you are not going to find a woofer that has a somewhat of a Mega Roll platform like this one does on the market for this price that can perform anything like this woofer right here. Period. And she's heavy, but she's not super heavy. Look, I'm not the strongest guy, so.
So what is it? I mean, Jacob, real quick, because we're going to run out of time. Give me the short version. To make that so cool, so big, but so inexpensive, how is that done in that particular model?
So I had to really focus on, because as we discussed earlier, the motor is the biggest part of the cost. So that was actually a big challenge for me because I generally design what I want and then figure out what it's going to cost later. So with the M series, I started out at the get-go. I was like, well, this is how much money I can spend. How good can I possibly make this motor? And that was how the process varied from my normal process.
Wow. Everyone, this has been a great night. I keep it to an hour. There's other shows that come on. Hold on.
I want to show this real quick.
Yeah, go ahead, buddy. What is that?
This is something stupid, but we're going to make it anyway. It is a massive horn. I actually forget the model number that we came up with, but look at this. It's beautiful. It's meant for like those stunt walls you see out there.
Right,
and look how big it is.
Yeah, and that stuff still sells. Remember the brand DS18's always been big for the horns, the pound. There's a huge market, obviously, for that type of stuff, and that's good to see you guys getting in it. Listen, everyone, this has been a great night. I'm sure we could have went on for hours. Keep in mind, We will be making the DD Audio giveaway announcement New Year's Eve, 10 o'clock Eastern Time live. I will come on all our platforms and announce the winner. Tonight we had Brian and Jacob on from Sundown. Thank you so much, Jacob. You're always welcome, Brian. You're not a rookie anymore. We'd love to have you on. You know, we could talk for hours, but you know, we keep it to that. But I definitely want to get you guys back on. Maybe we can get a little deeper into products. Real quick, Brian, when are these products we're talking about, when are these things going to be available?
So the M series, which we just had out, that will be available in about a month, maybe even sooner. It's very possible. SA1T and SA3M is already available. The mids that will go with those will be available in like a month or a couple months, sometime 2025. SD5, I'm not sure. Jake's still working on things with that.
I just got to wrap up the coil design. I have to make a couple changes, but I would say that would be about 4 months.
What else did we talk about?
Everyone can get it from an authorized seller, bigjeffaudio.com.
That's right.
So we'll take care of you. We are a distributor, so if you're a dealer, hit us up. We have a dealer site, dealer setup, and every retail. Take advantage of our financing, our giveaways, our swag. I mean, we got so much we give away. We're known for that, and that's what we're going to do. Brian, thank you so much for being on. Jacob, I'd love to have you guys on early in the new year. We got plenty to talk about. Everyone, thank you. Huge night. We had a great audience. I only saw a couple of trolls in there, and you got to love the trolls because I wouldn't be here without them. And the rest of y'all had great comments, great questions. I think we had an awesome night. Listen, I'm Big Jeff from bigjeffaudio.com, signing out. Ben, take us out.
Merry Christmas.
Another show in the bag, yeah, that's a wrap. Big Sound is the best, and that ain't no cap. Hit the website if you need that merch. It's Big Jeff Audio and hit the search. I know you had fun, yeah, you gotta admit it. That boy Big Jeff took his thing and he did it. Always a win, yeah, never a L. Did you smash the like, subscribe, and hit the bell? Share it on your socials, put it on blast. We'll be back next week with another podcast. Big Sound in the house, like no other. Deviant and Big Jeff, the Basshead Brothers.